So at the beginning of Advent, Happy New Year. Always feels a little weird. As we end the one liturgical year and begin another, we always get these lessons of dire events, of doom and gloom and fear and foreboding. So I was thinking about fear this week and how fear is an incredible gift to us, right? When we were ancient, early human people, we were afraid of a lot of things. Everything in the world seemed like it was out to kill us. And so we learned to be afraid of saber-toothed tigers, of poisonous mushrooms, and of course, clowns. Yeah, they're scary. What can I say? Fear is a gift, but unfortunately, fear is the gift that keeps on giving. A lot of those fears, when we're attacked by something, when there's something immediately in our presence, fear is a natural and good response, right? Fight or flight is a way of surviving. But our problem is that those pathways in our brain that get conditioned to respond to fear don't go away. Even when the saber-toothed tiger isn't chasing us, we are still full of fear and anxiety. I think particularly as we look at the modern world, there is a lot to be afraid of. And in fact, we're bombarded with fear messages all the time. Corporations know that a way of motivating us to buy products is to scare us. And the media knows that to get us to watch, right, if it bleeds, it leads, right? Anything that's scary captures our attention and plugs into that mental process by which we are motivated. But it's not always good for us, is it, to be in constant fear and dread? In fact, it can lead to a lot of negative behaviors. I remember talking to a woman some years ago. I was home for a visit. I may have told this story before, but we're at my old elementary school, which was a parochial school. Our parish church had a school, and I happened to be visiting my parents, and there was a benefit. It was, I think, the 40th anniversary of the school or something like that. And so there was a dinner, and actually they showed a video of the history of the school, and my parents had been very instrumental in getting that school going, and I was in the second group of kids that graduated. But I sat with this woman at dinner who was volunteering to help with this fundraiser, and I was asking her about herself. I said, "Do you have a child at the school?" And she said, "Oh, no." She said, "I hope I will." She said, "I know if I get enough volunteer hours at this school, maybe my child will have a better chance of getting into kindergarten in 2 years." She was volunteering because she was afraid that if she didn't get her child into this school, and this was by no means the most exclusive school in Southern California, far from it, but she was afraid that she had to do everything she could to manufacture her child's successful future, and that counted on her volunteering at this dinner to get her kid into the right kindergarten so she could go to the right junior high school and the right high school and the right college and have the right career and live happily ever after. So I looked at this woman full of anxiety. I felt like the weight of the world was on her shoulders. She felt like all of this was up to her, that she needed to control all of these outcomes for her child in order to give her child a head start. And I don't think she's alone. I think those kinds of feelings, like the world feels out of control, I need to be able to control things. I need to have a sense that I'm in charge of something, that I can make it come out right. And that need for control and that anxiety and that fear can truly imprison us in a life that is not joyful or free. Because if everything is up to us, there is no room for God. No room for God to be in charge, for God to act. Fear and dread were not something that just invented by the modern world, right? In the Hebrew Bible, we have the great prophets warning of the day of Yahweh, a day of deep darkness, of gloom, a day when God is finally going to settle everyone's hash and make things come out right, and the good are going to be rewarded and the bad are going to be punished, and most of you are bad, just in case you were wondering. So it's not something necessarily to look forward to. Jesus quotes from that great tradition, but then he turns the corner. He says, when you see these things happening, all these scary things, do not hide, do not run away, but instead stand up, because your salvation is at hand. When you see all this stuff happening, that's the time to remember who you are as God's beloved children, and see God's actions not with dread, but with a sense of hope and expectation and of joy. And that is the theme of our Advent season. To, in the midst of darkness, light a candle, stand up and proclaim the good news that God is God and we are not. You see, the real truth is that we can't control the world. We can't control other people. Even the people in our family that we really would like to control, we can't control them. The only person we can control, and that is a lifetime struggle, is ourselves. And in that journey of letting go, God offers us the promise of real freedom. Because that, I think, is the heart of faith. You know, we talk about faith in church all the time. Oh, you got to have faith. Oh, I couldn't have made it through without faith. But I'm not sure we always know what we're talking about when we use the word faith. For me, faith is the process of learning to let go of control, the illusion of control over the world and over other people, and putting it all in the hands of God. Knowing that I can't affect the outcome of global warming. I can do my part, right? I can discern where my part in that is and try to let go of everything else. I can't control how politics works out, or the environment, or even the choices my own children make, good and bad, right? They're free agents now. I can visit, I can love them, but I can't possibly control them. And in faith, what I can do is turn them over to God, because they've always been God's. The world has always been God's. You and I are God's possession. And when we really see and know that, then we can begin to live in freedom and hope and joy. Because in the midst of a dark world, God promises to come with power and might, with love and mercy, to execute justice and righteousness. And that is really good news. I never knew what happened to the child of that woman I sat next to at that dinner. Don't know if she got into the right kindergarten. I tried to share with her our experience of parenting young children and sending them to a truly, truly awful elementary school, academically, right? In all external ways, and yet a place where they really learned and grew. Unexpected blessings come when we let go of our wisdom, our control, and our need to be God. I invite us this Advent to practice that kind of faith, the letting go kind of faith. Father John has offered to us in our bulletin, we just did that prayer, that centering prayer. I'm going to practice that. I'm going to try to practice that every day during Advent, because I need it. Because as much as I stand up here and preach about it, I struggle with the very same desire to be in charge of everything in my life. I'm going to pray that prayer this Advent, and I'm going to ask God to help me to recenter myself, not on myself, my ego, my needs, but on God, and to hold all of the things that I care about, my family, this church, my friends, to hold them lightly and to return them to God's loving and merciful embrace. In that process, I hope for God to allow me to be more deeply centered, more able to do, in fact, the things that I am called to do, not running the world, but just faithfully, patiently doing the little things that God has given me to do. And hopefully I can do them with a sense of meaning and purpose and joy. I pray that for myself as I pray that for all of you. Amen.